film sense of isolation is a very important motive, I guess, for the relationship between two brothers as well. But for me, maybe I'm wrong, that definition of isolation is more connected to Iceland than to Denmark. Why did you choose to make film in Denmark, in Danish language, Danish actors, than to Iceland?
Why I made a film rather in Denmark than Iceland? I think I live in Denmark, but I work in Iceland also. So in a way, I'm between countries. But I work with both. So for me, film is a very international language. So I think it doesn't really. I think my films have very deep roots to Iceland. You know, because I grew up there. It's like my past. You know, but the now is in Denmark, and I think the film reflects that temper. You know, what sort of temper I have. And the future is unknown, so that is part of, you know, the desires, the you know, dreams, everything. So I think for me it doesn't matter if it's in Iceland and Denmark. I think I will do both.
About isolation, I mean,
isolation,
because Iceland is a very isolated island. So
I think cinema is really good to express, you know, things like isolation. You know, like the deepest sense of things. You know, something that is fragile and isolated, and you know, for me, that was a big part of expressing Emil, the main character. You know, he doesn't fit in. He's like sort of an enigma. He longs for passion, for being seen or loved, or you know, he doesn't. He's like he doesn't fit into the machine, you know. And I think isolation probably comes from that, you know.
Vous m'excusez, je parle français. Vous comprenez? Ok, comme tous les gens francophones sont mauvais anglophones. Alors, j'ai perdu beaucoup de temps en courant. Ça va. J'ai perdu beaucoup de temps en courant là, pour trouver la traduction. Finalement, j'ai trouvé. Si vous m'excusez, si vous pouvez, là, au début, me faire un raccourci de 2 minutes là, sur ce que vous avez dit au commencement, sur les films, parce que j'ai trouvé un film très dur, très fort, mais je voudrais avoir une compréhension de votre travail. Qu'est-ce que ça? 2 minutes, ça suffit, les autres vont pas s'en aider.
How do I do that? I think a short summary. Can I take this out? A short summary would be that Winter Brothers is a world, a space, and within this world there's a core, a beating heart, and I think that's the lack of love story, or the want, the need to be desired and loved. And I think we've been talking about that, and sort of talking about, you know, important aspects of the film, like being isolated, or I think that would be summary.
Your work reflects each other.
Yeah, and we talked about the process and how in the process when you're in a process, it's like things emerge. You know, when you're working, things emerge, and they emerge parallelly. You know, the movement of the film and the sound of the film is just as important. The dialogue is just as important as the narrative. Everything is just as important. I think people tend to say it's a very visually strong film, and I come from a visual art. But visual art is also audible. There's also audio and sound in visual art. So it's a bit paradoxical, but everything is paradoxical. So I think that it is a visual film, but it's also very much a sound film, and the dialogue is just as important as the visual. So I think these were a couple of things.
I would like to also have a question from the actors of the film, starting from with Elliot. I think this is a role that you developed together in an extremely unusual way. I've read that you've gone through taking pictures, interviews, visiting the site, and working with Lino over a long time to develop this character. Would you like to tell us something about this experience for you, which I think it was rather unconventional for an actor nowadays?
Thank you. I was so lucky that I got to be a part of Lino and Julius and our cinematographer Maria and our editor Julius's graduation film from the film school, which was shot in 2012, and that experience was amazing, and that created a connection, and so when I also became a part of the Winter Brothers. For me, I felt very safe because I had already experienced working with Lina and Julia and everyone, and that was so that gave me a very nice feeling of comfort, and then I felt I knew the man a little, and I knew, okay, this is going to be a wild, crazy, tough, wonderful experience, and if we have to do it, we have to do it right, and right. What is that? That is all in, and when we talked, the things that were most important for him, as I see it, about the character was the lack of love and the turmoil inside the character, the frustration and all those feelings, and that immediately the character was an enigma, a kind of force of nature, and therefore often perhaps in acting you talk about the backstories and where does my character come from, what has he or she experienced in the future or in the past, and we didn't really work with that. It was more the core, the essence of the characters, and that was wonderful to go out and see the factory and just talk, and I felt we talked a lot, and also that we didn't talk that much, and there was a lot of I felt trust, and I think I'm please if I can answer better. and then Simon, and then we were then we had a great collaboration.
Simon, for you it's
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're here for the press conference for Lucky, which screens this afternoon as international premiere and the main competition. let me introduce the people that we have up here, starting with on the very left, one of the film's producers, Richard Kahan. One of the film's producers and one of the film's writers, Logan Sparks. The same, Drago Simonja. Film's director, Carroll Lynch. And two members of the cast, own Hugo Armstrong. Please. As we only have less than half an hour, if there are questions, I suggest you start as soon as one comes to you, or I can begin. Yeah.
My compliments. The movie is fantastic. I really laugh and cry at the same time. So the story for me was wonderful, even the dialogue. And the question is, how did you cast the people? I read quickly that you invented it on the role of Harry Dean, on the life of Harry Dean. And so I just wanted to know how you were able to choose such perfect faces and interactions between all of them. Thank you.
Well, I'll start with the casting question that you had, and I'll pass it off to the writers about Harry Dean and how it's based on him. The cast is what I would describe generally as contactless casting. You know, we asked people that we knew and loved to do the movie, and they agreed, and many of them came specifically because they got a chance to play with Harry Dean for a day or two. That was true not just with the cast, but also with the crew and the cinematographer and me and everybody else. The people who came to join the party were there because of their joy of Harry Dean Stanton's career and work, and the way in which this script encapsulates his life and his life's journey. And then I'll pass it off to you guys.
I'm Logan Sparks. I'm Harry Dean Stanton and I have been friends for about 20 years. He's my best friend. My son is named Stanton, and Harry was the best man in my wedding. So I've learned a lot and I've observed a lot, and I basically absorbed it through osmosis. And there was some great dialogue over the years that are just beautiful moments that are just really Harry Dean. And Drago and I have been friends for a very long time, and he knew Harry as well, and he had some moments like that. And one day we were driving through Arizona, through the desert, and we came up with this idea about using all of the things that Harry Dean has given us and affected our lives. Because, you know, sometimes somebody will give you some information, some advice or some experience or exposure to something, and it genuinely affects you as a human. You know, it changes who you are, your perspective. And he certainly changed our perspective. And we were trying to figure out a way to both honor that, but not do a documentary. We wanted to make it an actual film that people could follow along in a linear narrative. And so we used a lot of those real moments for Harry, so they would be real for him. But then we used kind of versions of his father, my father, of our moms, and different people we knew to make that world real. Including, like, even in the cafe scene, Joe, the cafe owner, that's my dad's name. Pam, the woman that runs the place, that's my mom's name, and that was my mom in real life that played that role. And so we chose those things that would personally affect us, and we knew that when we were filming, it would affect the actors because they were real people interacting. And then we just had John brilliantly capture it and give those people the direction they needed to tune it.
No question. Thank you for the compliment. The movie, you know, as I've said this before many times, even when Logan and I were writing it, I mean, it's specifically for Harry. There was never even for 1 second that we considered any other actor. And I said to Logan, if Harry says no, then we'll just blow the script away. I mean,
We'll fold it up.
so it's sort of just for Harry. I mean, it's
Did he need convincing?
convincing.
To the very last night.
He needed to, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
He's reluctant to do a lot. Basically, he's a Zen master. So he says, I like to do nothing and rest after. But we said, you won't even have a problem memorizing these lines, Harry, because you've said them to me 1,000 times. And it was like, all right, well, we'll give it a shot. But then we called, to fulfill that, the rest of the casting, we had done Twin Peaks. We shot Twin Peaks about 1.5 years prior to Lucky. And so I knew David really well through Harry for about a decade. And I knew David's assistant, Michael, who makes his world go round. So I called Michael and said, listen, Harry suggested David for this role of Howard. Could you have him read the script? And Michael called me back and goes, I read the script on the way to set today. David says he'll do it for Harry and he loves the words. So that was just changed our lives in a heartbeat. In one phone call, changed our lives, and all of a sudden the movie was on track. So that's how that casting happened. Thank you.
Stai lavorando. Com'è stata la cosa?
My father is in the movie as one of the background people at the bar. And a couple of things. He was great. My dad is a terrifically nonplussed person. He's not really, he doesn't really get rattled by much of anything. So it was all new to him, but he was really calm. So calm at one point that we had a shot of all the extras. And I had to walk in and go, Dad, you need to wake up. You need to be awake for this part of the story. But it was a great pleasure to have him there. And one of the reasons why I think I was drawn to the material was my father's a little bit younger than Harry Dean. It's about 5 years younger. And he is in amazingly good shape. I just got a video of him kayaking on a lake in Colorado, and he is as vital as that, and as fragile as that. That could end very quickly. And the story that Logan and Drago wrote around Harry's thoughts and feelings and personal stories was a man who's maybe definitely not looking at mortality for the first time, but is likely looking at mortality for the last time. And what is that like for him? And how does he come to terms with that with no safety net of faith, right? With no sense that there's going to be another life for him, that this is it. And he's in football terms, he's in penalty time, and he doesn't know when exactly the ref is going to call it. So I think it's an important thing, and I'm glad that you smelled death about it. But I also like that the movie doesn't necessarily say that the smell of death is rancid. In some ways, it's sweet.
My question is for Mr. Lynch. Often both you and Mr. Stanton are referred to as brilliant character actor. Are you okay with this label? Do you like the name character actor, or do you see yourself just as an actor? And also, if you're okay with this, do you see this movie as a sort of homage to the figure of the character actor, a big character actor directing another even bigger character actor?
Well, there's 2 or 3 things that came to me when you were asking the question. One was the idea that I'm in the same sentence as Harry Dean Stanton, and anything to do with acting is certainly humbling. And a man who's made 236 films, who's been in countless episodes of television, who has moved audiences in every nation in the world. It's a true honor to be in the same sentence. The words character actor, it's a funny term. It feels arbitrary to some degree, but I do understand that it's about a relationship with the audience that people have. I was saying just a few minutes ago that there are people that come on screen for me when I see them. There are examples, Margot Martindale being one of them, that whenever she pops up, my shoulders go down and a smile comes to my face. because I know I'm in good hands. I know that I'm going to see a real person. I know that I'm going to be moved as a human being by human things. And if that's what being a character actor is, sign me up. Because that's all I ever wanted to do, was to have the opportunity to portray a wide variety of people and to portray the way in which human beings interact both in good and terrible ways. And if that's what it is, that's great. As far as this movie, this is most definitely an homage to one character actor, Harry Dean. And in some ways, in its specificity, it's also an homage to the people, not just me, but who are also in the film with Harry. Beth Grant and Barry Shabaka Henley, and others too. The two of these wonderful actors who joined us. That it is an actor's piece, and in that it's filled with quiet frames that allow the audience to meet the actors in the time and space they share. So I'm very happy with that term. Thank you.
If I may add to that, I think one of the reasons the movie is so beautiful and so special is because John's point of view is so specific, and he's been telling stories his whole life, and that's what this was about. This is not a car chase. This is not, an action-packed film. This is about humans being real in the moment, and there was nobody better that we could come up with that had that point of view better than John, and it enlightened the entire film.
I'm also available to direct car chases.
Charlize will be here soon.
We'll chat.
I'm thinking of the movie Magnolia, and whether there was background as to why you chose to end with that smile. Could you have envisioned the movie without it?
Well, where can I begin? I can just say that we were working on the script, getting ready, closer to finalizing our shooting script. And Ira Stephen Bear, who is one of our producers and a dear friend, had suggested that we work a little bit on the end of the piece and how it could kind of put a button on it. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was sitting with Logan in his dining room, and we were working on ideas. And I will say this, that growing up, I was a huge fan of Smokey and the Bandit. And I think you should thank Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds for that moment, because in the moment part in the movie Smokey and the Bandit, when Burt Reynolds looks at the camera and gives that smile, for some reason I thought of that, but
If you don't remember that scene, tell him. It's the scene where he slides the car. And he's got the arm up and he looks at the camera and smiles.
And I had also thought, in my mind, I had also thought that kind of quite butts it beautifully ties it in with these phone calls that Harry's making, the questions, who's Harry speaking to? And I kind of look at it as, when he acknowledges a smile, as he's been talking to you.
It's also, for me, I remember when we got the draft with that in it, and Ira called me, we got on an email, and he called me. I was in the midst of reading it, just finishing it, when he called me. Did you read the ending? And I said, yeah. He goes, that's it, right? That's it. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And I immediately called the two writers and I got goosebumps when I saw it. And it was something in the script, you're intuiting your way through both as an actor and a director. And I was trying to figure out what exactly that moment was. I knew it was right, but I didn't quite know why. And watching it over and over again, it's a transition moment from that moment where he is lucky, and for the first time in his 60-year career, he looks at us, the people who've been watching him in the dark for 60 years, and says, yeah, I know you're there, and I know I've been talking to you the whole time. And when we shot it in some of the Arizona desert that Logan has grown up in, on his family's land. He turned and looked at the camera, and I was holding the clamshells that we had, the little monitors, and I choked up. I couldn't believe it. I could barely ask the cameraman to stop. It was so moving to see him look at us. It's really beautiful. I mean, I'm so thrilled with it. And it was always, when that came about, that was clear. That was the, okay, and we've found the cherry on the top of this sundae.
Volevo dirvi che mi è piaciuto moltissimo riconoscere lo spirito giovane degli anni 60 in queste persone, specialmente Draghi, è come se l'eternità dei 20 anni, che si pensa che sia eterni, poi ci si rende conto che invece siamo provvisori, però si accetta giorno per giorno, minuto per minuto, è il nostro destino, appunto, è bello il modo in cui si pensa alla morte, ma approfittando molto intensamente del presente. L'ho apprezzato moltissimo e volevo chiedere appunto a Lucky così in generale, ho visto che accetta tranquillamente queste contraddizioni di un mondo utopico sognato negli anni 60, che poi invece è diventato quello che è, però non condanna, non giudica, accetta semplicemente, ed è molto bello, è molto simpatico, però avrebbe voglia di cambiare ancora il mondo, lo ha detto anche adesso.
The relationship of the material to that period of time, that kind of sense of a burgeoning sense that we can change the world to make it a better place. Certainly, Harry Dean lived through that, but Harry Dean was of the generation just before that. You know, the Locarno Film Festival is 70 years old, which means that Harry was discharged from the Navy a year before this festival started. You know, that to put it in perspective, and that generation didn't have the same relationship with that utopia. Certainly, Harry Dean has sucked the bone marrow out of life. I mean, he's had every experience you could possibly have in life. He's had it, and that's why his face is so expressive and beautiful. It's lovely. But that last moment, you know, during the question, I was thinking of a beautiful moment in A Room with a View that Denholm Elliott, his character, says when they're supposed, it's not right that they switch rooms, you know, because they got the room with the view. And Denholm Elliott says, let them have the view if they want it. This is where the birds sing. This is where the sky is blue. And that's the journey of this movie, is to find the moment where, it's not a movie about death, it's a movie about living. It's a movie about how to live your life in this moment in time. And we're sharing this strange and wondrous journey of coming to Locarno, all of us, that we never expected to happen. And we can worry about it, or we can just simply say, que bella, you know?
We have time for one more question.